Ferrari fans are an interesting bunch. They don't seem to understand history. A case in point is the Ferrari California. Everyone said it was too soft, it was too girly, they said, and I don't even quite know what that means, but it was a car that was sure to start an argument. A gentleman that I once offered a ride in a California T dismissed it as Ferrari's Camry. Believe it or not, he didn't come for the ride. But we're here to talk about this. This is the new California T, and it's not even called that anymore. It's made the transatlantic journey back to the Mediterranean. This is the Ferrari Portofino.
Ferrari talks of the Portofino as though it was born at the beach. The car is all about barefoot luxury, they say. It's equally at home here in Sydney's Bondi Beach, or out in the bush, or in the city. So we drove from the beach to the bush via the city, just to find out. At first glance, not much seems to have changed. It still has a folding hardtop roof, it still has the California T's twin-turbo V8, and it's still a 2+2. The roof folds away in 15 seconds and you can do it on the move up to 40 kilometres an hour. What's amazing is just how quiet is the mechanism. That speaks to some serious engineering work. Look a bit closer and you'll see a much prettier car. It has more of the edginess Ferrari has built into the 488, the 812 Superfast and the GTC4 Lusso. The new car has more obvious aero influences, like this aero device on the side, fed by vents at the outer edge of the headlights, cleaning up the air around the front wheels. They look like they've come off a McLaren, and that's not a bad thing. And with the roof up, the profile's a bit more lee than the original compromised California and the slightly less frumpy California T. And the engine. The twin-turbo V8 now puts out 441 kilowatts or a nice round 600 horsepower. Torque is a 488 matching 760 newton meters, which you cannot have until 7th gear. Yeah, it's a lot of torque.
So right off the bat, this is a better car. Now there's not much wrong with the California. Like, people get up of it and say, oh, it's understeering, it's this and that, it's heavy. Yeah, it's a heavy car. It's got a folding hardtop roof in it. There's no such thing as a light folding hardtop roof. It's just not a thing. Anyway, so you can already feel the figures that Ferrari tell you about this car, that it's a stiffer by 35%, that there's fewer parts in it, so there's less sort of noises and pinches and little things like that. It's a much more together car, if that makes any sense. The engine's got more power, but it's smooth. It's as good as the California T engine, just better. And all that extra torque. Oh my goodness, all that extra torque. It really does move. But as you can see, I'm just pootling along in a nice little suburb up here in Sydney's Northern Beaches, Central Coast area. It's easy. You don't have to feel like you've got to pull your elbows in or any of that. It's a very easy car to live with. And not all supercars are like that. Okay, not a supercar, but it's a sports car. But where this car's really different to the California, it still makes that awesome bang. Where this car's different is it's further towards the sports car. So it's further towards the 488. And whereas before the California was really about giving you just a little taste. And it's a finely judged thing. Getting sports cars right is hard. Anyone who thinks it's easy, well, go and start a sports car company and see how easy it is. It's not. But the California, it was soft. And there was something about the way it turned in that I think was the cause of all the consternation about its supposedly understeering nature. It didn't really understeer that much, but when you leaned on it in the turn-in, you could feel there was a bit of hesitance almost, just that little kind of a little gap before it actually turned in. And for most people who bought that car, it probably didn't matter, but for people who really liked driving, it did matter. What they didn't know is that all you had to do was really lean on it and it was fine. And that was how you fix the understeer, just push harder. So the California got a an unfair reputation for being soft, and I think that was unfair. The Portofino is not going to get that reputation. I mean, there'll be some idiots who'll never be happy, but this is not a soft car in that sense. It's a much tauter feeling car. It's got a chassis that you know from the get-go is ready to rumble. The engine rumbles, so why shouldn't the chassis? So when you're really getting on it, and we haven't had a great deal of chance to do that. I will be upfront about that. We haven't really given it a good thrashing. But when you start to really push it through the corners, you can feel that it's coming towards you. It's got more in it than the California. And I really like that. I loved the California for what it was. And the Portofino is the California and more. And I guess you'd expect that as the models move on. But given how many Californias Ferrari sold, it was commercially, it was a very successful car. Given how many they sold, it could have just been a basic update. But, you know, Ferrari says that very little of this car is carried over, and I believe it. Ferrari says that it's much stiffer, it's much simpler, and of course, it's a hell of a lot more powerful. So, well, not in terms of horsepower, but it's certainly far more torquey than the old car, and the power delivery makes it feel much sharper. Portofino is a much more aggressive sounding car. The exhaust is louder, it's more... You hear a lot more and you get a bit more of that when you lift off. But you also get that wonderful upshift crack of the old car. That's one thing that's a hill I would die on. Keep that. Everything else can go, but that crack. But it's still there. And here through these hairpins, you really feel the change in the character of this car. The Portofino is more serious in the sense that this is a car that will hold your attention for much longer. It's obviously not as sharp and mental as the 488, but that's not a car you can drive every day. This is an everyday car. This is an everyday sports car. You can drive this to the shops, to school, to the beach house, whatever it is Ferrari owners have, whatever it is day-to-day things Ferrari owners do. But you can also take this to a track and wring its neck. You'll have a ball. You'll absolutely love it. And you know, this has got carbon ceramic brakes, which are very good. Of course, you'll never need them on the road. As I always say, anyone who says they need carbon ceramics on the road is doing it wrong. It's almost like as the 488's kind of moved away from the California in the breadth and size of its talent. It's a colossally talented car, the 488. As it's moved away and pulled away from the California, the Portofino is bridging that gap. So it's much quicker to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. It's much, much quicker. It's got the torque of the 488, so you can leave it in higher gears and absolutely lean and surf on that torque through corners. But above all, it's just a bloody good car. It's so good. The Ferrari Portofino is exactly what it needs to be. It's the kind of car that anybody can drive, but it's got all of the good Ferrari bits. V8 twin turbo, sensational handling, and amazing looks. This was just a short introduction to the Portofino, but like the California T, I really like it. But it's made all the things about the California T that weren't great and made them great.